Hello and welcome to MC Tech Talk with Betsy and Kit. With all the technology we use in education, we thought it would be a great idea to share some tech tidbits and hacks that will help make your use of technology more efficient and meaningful.
You can find all of our episodes on our YouTube channel, MC Tech Talk, so make sure to like and subscribe. We'll be sharing our screens during the session as we walk you through the different tools. So if you're listening on the go, you can go back and view the recording to see what's going on.
Without further ado, let's jump into today's topic. Hello, MC Tech Talk friends. This is Kit
And Betsy.
Coming at you live from the MCISD. Thank you for joining us today.
On today's episode, we're going to be talking about resources and tools that will help you with reaching out to parents and families. And when we say it takes a village to raise kids, it really does. It's important for educators, parents, and families to work together to support kids and their educational journeys. So we will be talking about websites, newsletters, social media, Google Forms, and more that will hopefully help you with this very important topic.
And after today's episode, hopefully you walk away with some concrete ways to effectively and efficiently communicate with and provide resources for parents and families.
We are super excited to have our very first guest hosts on with us. We would really like to welcome Jen Hay and Bridget Halcomb from Monroe County's Great Start Collaborative. Ladies, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Bridget Halcomb, and I'm the Great Start Collaborative Director.
And I am Jen Hay. I am the Family Liaison for the Great Start Collaborative.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us and being patient with us as we learn the ropes of having a guest speaker on the podcast. Ladies, you're here today and you're going to share with us in the audience what resources you like to use that help with parent and family outreach.
And can you tell us a little bit about what the Great Start Collaborative is?
Sure. So the Great Start Collaborative is a community of interconnected, like public and private organizations. So think the businesses in Monroe County, philanthropy in Monroe County, parents of young children and other community stakeholders, educational leadership, especially dealing with age 0 to 8. And we all get together and discuss the initiatives and happenings in Monroe County.
Nice.
Right. And then we also have the Great Start Family Coalition. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. The Family Coalition is a group of parents and caregivers in Monroe County who have kids who are 0 to 8 years old. Right now, we are meeting once a month, and we are using that time to provide supports to parents, talk about some different issues that they might be facing, using it as an opportunity for education. We've been bringing in guest speakers. We have dinner for the families each month, which is really cool, as well as childcare for them.
That's awesome. I bet that helps get parents in
It
there.
does, yeah. So it's just been a really great time of getting together and supporting one another, and then also connecting them to the resources that are available here in the community.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, ladies, thanks again so much for joining us today. And so, yeah, we're just going to jump right in and talk about some of these tech resources and tools that you guys use, some tools of the trade for you.
Yeah, and we kind of want to start with the newsletter and the communication, because obviously there's a huge part of communication and reaching out to families and that sort of thing. So we know that one of those ways is for you guys to create that some more, which for those of you that don't know, it's a website that's great for creating newsletters and other communications where you can put links in, events, images, text, and you can send that out. So it's user-friendly and it looks really professional. And Canva and some more work really great together. So if you listen to our last episode on Canva.
Yeah, remember how Canva helps everybody be a graphic designer? So Canva's also going to help you work out some more in that way.
So because it's such a great graphic design tool, combining that with some more can really step up your game. So we'll be talking more about creating some mores and how you can use that in another episode. But we do want to kind of take a look at what the GSC has created using that resource. All right. So S'more is super handy because we actually use two separate S'more newsletters. One that we point toward our community partners and one that we point toward the families and parents.
I didn't know you guys had two S'mores.
We do. Just because the parents, there's a lot of stuff that's shared, but we really want one that's what parents want and what they need to learn about.
It is just so easy to plug information in. And I think that we are just at the beginning of learning how to use it effectively. Like you can put polls in there, and of course the PDFs and the images. You can, if there's a Facebook event you want to promote, you can pop that right in. And so the way that I use the newsletter for my families is I grab all of those fun things from the whole community of Monroe and put them together by date. So that way I can send it directly to the families and they have that resource available for them.
Can we actually, while Betsy's sharing her screen, maybe we can pop up the monthly Family Coalition newsletter.
There you go.
And that's the one that Jen is telling us about right now. And it is stunning. It's lovely because it is. I'm not, whatever. Yeah. Because you are just really then scrolling through these events with these different flyers for all of these different community partners and these different, these vested interests in childhood and education in Monroe County. Hey? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And one of my favorite features is that there's a table of contents. So if you don't necessarily need to pay attention to a specific feature, you can just use the table of contents and go directly to what you are looking for.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. That's very cool.
SOAR's kind of the gift that keeps giving with stuff like that, because we just keep, one day we were like, did you know there's a table of contents? Oh, look how nice this is. Or the polls, we haven't really used those yet. That would be great.
Yeah.
We also like to encourage people to go ahead and take those newsletters and just forward them. So if you're a teacher and you work with this age group, it's just another resource that you can have for your classroom. So really all you have to do is just hit forward, and here's a nice pretty newsletter for them.
Which leads us into creating listservs for your emails and being able to push out information to large groups of people.
Yeah. So can I ask right now, like, how do you guys manage that? Because it sounds like with the Great Start Collaborative and then again with the Parent Coalition, right? This is two almost entities that have these massive lists of people who need emails served to them. Hence listserv. Is that where it came from? Let's call it. Let's do it.
Sounds good.
So do you guys do that? Do you guys do email listservs or anything like that? Like, how do you guys manage those big lists?
We do. We have a Google group that is set up with all of those email addresses.
The Googs coming in hot to help you guys. Yeah.
We again have two. So we have one for information that's more pertinent to families, information that's more pertinent to, I deal with a lot of policy. I deal with a lot of legislation.
Yeah, you got state stuff and
Yeah. So a lot of our community partners would really benefit from having that, while parents really, they would go, oh, I feel like this is boring, like I don't want to pay attention to this newsletter. So that will only go out to the community partners.
I also feel like this is a good time to mention BCC. What's a BCC, y'all?
I don't know what it stands for, but it's blind carbon copy. Way to go. I did not know that. But it's a good way to privately send emails to a bunch of people.
Privately, right? Because we have these huge lists of people. I have my own too as well, like within the parents that I serve or within the playgroup participants and that kind of thing. And we're not about here sharing that information with everybody. So in order to send it out to everybody at once, we send it to our listserv, but we BCC it instead of actually like copying everybody out that email. Or thanks for letting us get a little insight into that and how you guys share that information out. Another thing to mention in this kind of topic about newsletters and communication with these big groups of folks is the Blooms app, or maybe Remind. A lot of schools, school systems use these applications to facilitate communication between parents and educators, parents and staff. Does anybody at the table have any experience with Blooms or Remind?
Just from a parent standpoint, I know we use it at the elementary, and being able to have that communication back and forth and contacting teachers. It's a nice one-stop shop. Everything's in one app.
Yeah,
agreed. I know also in my daughter's classroom, they use Seesaw to communicate back and forth.
Seesaw, I forgot about Seesaw. That's an oldie but a goodie. Seesaw was one of the first ones on the scene. Stop making fun. So Seesaw was the first. I think Remind came out next, and Blooms is coming in hot with a nice.
I feel like Remind I used more like at the upper level, middle school, high school, and the Blooms was more like elementary. It's just kind of the feel that I get from those two different applications.
It's interesting how the different platforms might have, some different application at different grade levels and that kind of stuff. I'm wondering too, maybe our audience wants to leave us a comment. That'd be cool. about, what at a higher ed level, which one that they're using or how they're using those different platforms. Something that we're kind of coming across, or something that we discussed about while we were preparing for this episode was about how imperative or helpful it is to actually teach a user how to use it, or how helpful it could be to facilitate its use even more consistently or more powerfully, however.
Because parents can get really frustrated if they don't know how to use it or how they need to communicate. And so there can be a user disconnect when you're putting those things out there.
Teachers can get frustrated with how to use it because, you really, there's a learning curve involved just like any other application. So
Yeah, one of the subcommittees that I run with the Great Start Collaborative is a group of mental health professionals throughout the county, some here housed in the ISD, some just private providers. So they are so thoughtful, and we enjoyed that so much. One of the topics that was brought up was something that wasn't even on our radar, was that there are a lot of families that are experiencing kinship care, where it might be grandparents or aunts and uncles who might be older, who are caring for younger children who are in school now. Maybe their kids, if they're an aunt and uncle, are all grown up, or maybe their grandparents who are elderly and are not really tech friendly. So one of the people there brought up that it's disheartening sometimes to see those people struggle, and that it's a great way to open communication with families in your care or families that you're working with when you just offer some personal assistance with those things. If you have
just a little support. Exactly. And it is about capacity. Like, we understand that, right? We're not out here like holding these like training sessions and that kind of thing, like super realistically, but maybe just to make a connection with your users and, hey, how can I support you guys understanding how to use this a little bit better and that kind of thing. Yeah. So, just like we say all the time, like if you are, like a teacher, like an educator, if you're somebody in the industry here and you're using like Blooms or Remind and stuff like that, definitely, playing with it is helpful too, like just for yourself to get into it and get playing with it. And we talked about the same thing when we talked about all the Googs tools and how helpful it is to just play in that platform. Do you guys ever use the Googs?
Oh yeah. Very often. We use it for forms, we use it for surveys, we use it to just keep track of our own stuff that we have in our own planning of events. So
what do you think? What Google tool on the platform do you use the most?
I don't know that it's a tool per se, but I think the Drive, because literally all of our work is shared on our Google Drive. But I think coming in right behind that would probably be Google Forms, because that is our way of receiving feedback from the families and the partners that we are serving.
So going into Google Forms, then it's a great tool to use to collect information. So we've talked about getting information out to people. So what are some of the ways that you do use Google Forms then?
Well, definitely for signing up and registering for events that are coming up. We use it with families. We use it with our own community partners who are signing up to host a table at an event, or, I want to sign up to do this work that in an initiative that we're doing. One really great thing about that is you get the data afterwards, all in a nice, beautiful spreadsheet. So for event registration, you use it, but Jen, maybe you want to talk about using it at events to sign in.
Yes, I have been using Google Forms to sign in. So I've been creating a QR code so that parents can just scan it when they walk in, or we also have iPads available with the Google Form just pulled right up. And so they just type in their name and their email, and then they're on their way to whatever they're doing at the event. And then afterwards, it helps us to track our attendance and participation. If we had a registration on the front end, we can see who actually came to the event and compare.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah. So you're going to use the data that you collected from the registration, get that number, and compare it against how much we actually had in participation.
And then the other thing that I confirm through the forms is that we have some permissions on file. So every time we have an event, there's some legal things that have to be on file, like photo permission, for example, and then like the liability waivers and things like that. And it's just a second opportunity to make sure that we do, in fact, have that information collected.
I love that so much. We're going to look at one in just like a hot little second here. We're going to cruise through with Betsy and take a look at one. But one other way that you guys are using that Google Forms is to collect a lot of like info, right? Like data too, not just like participation and stuff like that. Do you got anything out there? How are you using it to get data?
Well, right now we are hosting a pretty comprehensive survey on children's mental health and challenging childhood behaviors. So we actually have 2 surveys out. One is pointed toward families, and one is pointed toward teachers, child care providers, for children ages 0 to 8. So when you scan the QR code on the form that we have, it'll take you right to a Google form that helps us collect countywide information and is really important to the work that we're doing in that subcommittee I was talking about before.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So you guys are definitely using the forms, not just for registration, for participation and attendance. You guys are using them to collect data, to organize it, and then you can manipulate that data, right? Again, go listen to, what was it, episode 2 with the Google? Yeah.
I use it a lot for talking about like legislation and policy before. There are lots of people that like it's really great data to use in those situations. So Google Forms makes it extremely easy to just go in and copy paste, and you can make it into a nice, beautiful little format with your graph, with, taking out any of the private information. But we've given out our summertime survey that we did with the Family Coalition. We were able to give that out to community agencies. We talked with early on about it.
Yeah.
We're able to very easily share that data with everyone.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so we've opened up Google Form because we want to go through some of the settings that you might need to double check before actually sending your form out to somebody. So on your Google Form, you've got your little menus at the top. So you have where you put your questions in, you have your responses, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then we also have the settings button. So when you are sending something out to families or partners where they're not necessarily in your domain, we need to make sure that we turn that setting off. So you go under settings, there's a response option, make sure restrict to your domain is turned off. So that's the first thing to double check. And then underneath that, under the presentation option, there is a place where you can edit the confirmation message so that they know that they're submitting it and that it's been submitted. So you can customize that to however you feel you need to do that. So once your settings are all good to go and you've double checked everything, when you go to send this form out, you're going to use the big purple send button that's in the upper right-hand corner. When you click on send, you're going to want to go to the link option, and you can copy and paste that link into an email, into a newsletter, into any kind of communication that you have so that families and partners can click on it to fill out the form. And then Jen also mentioned the QR code. So you can create a QR code for a flyer or for a sign-in and post that QR code so that all they have to do is scan it and they can fill out your form. So when you go to send it, just make sure you're using that purple send button and taking the link from there. Now you can also add collaborators on a form by going to the 3 dots next to the send button, and it says add collaborators. So this is where you can check permissions. So you can add people to this form so that you can build it together. Or you could send it as a general access, but that's only for adding people that are helping you with the form. So now if we go under the responses and we click on view in sheets, so that was what, the front end, Kit?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got our front end and what that looks like. And then we have our back end, which is the Google Sheet, which is where all of that information you're collecting is going. So that's going to have all of your headings for all of your questions. And then from there, you can use your sheet and use the filter option up at the top to actually filter out that data so that you can find what you're looking for. Make sure you're utilizing that, because I think that's a big part of why we collect that information.
Yeah, why we use that tool in particular, why it's so helpful, I think, right, is because it's giving us all of that data then, and then the back end, which is that Google Sheet, is so... what do I want to say? Highly manipulatable.
Yeah.
Nope. Somebody say a real word. Manipulatable.
Sounds good.
It sounds good to me. It's a word now if it wasn't. I think the what you guys talked about too before, the sending a message back, adding that into your Google form is really helpful and important, because a lot of times parents will ask, like,
did I register?
I didn't get anything back. Am I in?
Yeah.
Some things have limits, or sign-up sheets might have a limit for something. So
yeah, I think that's overlooked sometimes in the settings too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Definitely. That was really good thing to talk
that little confirmation message. Okay, cool. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add about Google Forms and how that kind of helps support you guys with parent community outreach? I mean, you guys do a lot with it for sure. It sounds like, yeah.
We do. Yeah, we do. It's just easy. Most parents have experienced Google in some form, so
Yeah.
it's familiar. And
yeah, you guys also are really comprehensive with the way that you do kind of like get that information out to parents, community partners, community members, educators, like all that kind of stuff, because I think you're pretty, Jen, again, you mentioned the QR code, but then you guys also have a link. Like a lot of times you guys will have the link and the QR code, because I'm looking at this maybe flyer or something like that where you're sharing that information in different settings. Sometimes I can click something, sometimes I can just use my phone.
accessibility for
Accessibility.
different people. It feels a little silly when you hand someone a flyer that says click this link to sign up, and then you go, oh no.
Oh, it just tickles me. It just tickles me to death. Because I am looking at that like, click where? Where paper? Where? But it's a both and world, right? Where we want to be able to provide that kind of like, again, that accessibility, like Betsy was saying. Yeah. So yeah, that's good. That's awesome to hear too, that the Goog serves you guys so well. That's such a good tool. So any other digital media tools that we can kind of talk a little bit about? Betsy, I know you showed us one at Tech last time. Yeah.
Yep. So we have what we call the classroom screen. So I'll show you on my screen what that looks like. But you can get a free account. So up at the top, you can try for free. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring up a bunch of tools that you can use in your classroom, such as doing polls or doing sound levels, so the kids can keep track of where their sound is in the classroom when it's getting too loud.
And I just do, okay, so it's called classroomscreen.com. And I think there's a link in the show notes, right? Or we have
yes, we will have a link. So all of these websites and tools that we're showing, we have created a PDF document that we linked in the show notes. So you can go back and click on those at your own pace and check them out.
Even though this one is called Classroom Screen, I want to recommend it for parents too. Like I really do think that if a parent went in there and played with that,
there's a timer.
Really cool.
Put a timer on for kids, or the clock, text, images. So yeah, there's a lot of cool tools in the classroom or outside the classroom that can be used.
Yeah. I know that we've got a Help Me Grow Pinterest page.
We sure do. So Help Me Grow falls under the umbrella of the Great Start Collaborative. Basically, it is a intake point for anyone looking for services or information on child development. We developed a Pinterest board. Some other counties were doing it and got some great feedback. So if you check it out, you'll see that there are just boards that kind of go by age and topic that you're looking for. So it might be gross motor, music and movement, or you might be looking like, hey, my child is 2 years old. What are some appropriate activities? We focus a lot on preschool readiness. So there's a whole folder about that. But yeah, it's fun. And we have a Help Me Grow coordinator now named Nicole Seitz, who will be manning it. And she is excited about adding, she was talking the other day about adding some like seasonal boards and some different things like that. So another thing that you could just share out to your clientele if you have them.
That's very cool. So that's linked below, right? The Help Me Grow Pinterest board.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We often do also send families over to the CDC milestone tracker app. Bridget, is that part of the Help Me Grow initiative as well? Or
and not like specifically, but a lot of Help Me Grow stuff will suggest the CDC as the a great source to use when you're looking at milestone tracking or any of those questions that you might have. So you just download it to your phone.
Yeah.
And you tailor it, you put like your child's name in, whatever. And for the parents, it just goes through and you can go day by day and scroll and say, your child is this old today.
Yeah. And here's some look fors for that child and that kind of thing. Yeah. And it's a free app too. So why not just install it and kind of, track some of your child's development that way. It's really nice. Really cool. What's another digital tech tool that you guys are using?
I'm really excited to share about Great Start to Quality. I was looking at it earlier, and it is a website, and you can go on it, put in your zip code, you could even do it by the provider's name if you know. So basically, you're looking for childcare options. You could look nearby to you, or if someone has recommended somewhere to you, you punch in the info, you find out about the facility. You'll find out if they provide certain supports. You'll find out if they take childcare subsidies there. You'll find out if they have had any licensing citations, which is very helpful. But one of my favorite parts of it is you're going to click on Find Programs, and that will take you to a page where you can punch in an address. The quick find option, you can put in a program's name if you know the name of the place. But specifically, I wanted to mention the consumer ed section. That's just to the right, right next to the little heart there. If you click on any of them, really, child care center checklist, preschool program checklist, these are great resources when people are looking for somewhere to go to make sure that these facilities meet the qualifications.
That's really cool. So this is a tool for parents to use if they're looking for childcare and they need to kind of get a little bit of guidance or heads up on what kind of questions should they be asking. What makes a high quality program a high quality program?
Yes.
Awesome. Is the program licensed? Does it say for the staff washing their hands and required to do so, et cetera, et cetera? Okay, cool. So, and underneath consumer ed tab, then there's checklists for, I see school age, preschool, family childcare. Yeah, that's very cool.
And so many parents don't know what to ask. Great Start to Quality is a program that checks into these child care centers, child care programs to make sure that they're meeting standards so that they are high quality.
So greatstarttoquality.org is a good place for you guys to, I'm glad you guys are sharing that with us today. And so it's a tool for us to find specific programs within, is it for Monroe County? Is it all over?
It is all over Michigan.
It is all over Michigan. And so in your little search on the side, you can filter by where you need it. So maybe you need it by your home, maybe you need it by your work. You can put those specifications in there.
Yeah. Look at how specific too. It's very cool when we're actually like in that Find Programs tab there that you can look up licensed centers. You guys can like the type of program that it is specifically.
Yes, we have huge movement right now in just revamping how we look at childcare. So in-home care, group home care, those are options that some people maybe would have avoided before, but let's face it, we have very limited options. So Great Start to Quality is working with the state to make sure that those in-home places are licensed, those providers are learning things that they need to know, and expanding childcare access for people.
That's really awesome. So the Great Start Collaborative is really involved then with the Great Start to Quality. You guys kind of support each other.
Yes, we have done a lot of work since I have come on board actually with the GSC in terms of trying to help support families who are looking for childcare and also to help support childcare providers themselves and try to just kind of bridge that gap because we know it is so important for families to have quality childcare.
Yeah. Another community partner, I think, for you guys is United Way. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. So I am familiar. United Way has a tool that I like to send families for called unitedway.org Get Help. So that connects us with that 211 program. And that's just kind of like another way to search for what basic needs.
Yeah, many different resources. We like to call it in the work an open door referral policy. So even if you call 211 and it's not something that they would like typically provide you with, they will try to help you find where you need to go.
So another one that I like to send to families too for similar but different is findhelp.org. Findhelp.org is just a search engine where you can put in your zip code and you can actually like search for I need diapers, I need formula, I need transportation, like things like that. And it helps filter then for the zip code that you've entered, all this kind of like, here's housing resources, here's, health resources, like things like that. So
yeah,
I like that one a lot.
That one's new to me. And I like the specifics.
Yeah.
Like help for bus passes, help for whatever, People, when they are in crisis, they know what they're looking for. And it's sometimes clouded by a million other things that are thrown at them. So
And they don't know where to look for it.
Isn't it
Yeah.
true? And these tools help that make that accessibility again to try to like, put that in their hands. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. So that was a couple different kind of digital tools that we're using that are pretty popular right now and helpful. Do we have any other websites to share?
So we do have the Michigan Learning Channel, which we have shared with some teachers, but I think it's also a great home resource as well. There is live TV that you can watch, and they do have schedules for live TV, so these can be watched at home or at school. And they also have a schedule. So up at the top of the website, there's a schedule, and it'll show you what's on that day and at what time. But you can also find lessons. So if you go under Find Lessons, it'll give you some different, sometimes they're themed lessons. On the left-hand side, we do have some categories that you can look into: exploring Michigan, health and fitness, math and science. So they've really built this website up to be, friendly for anybody using it at home or at school. And if you go under the subjects, you'll find different videos that they've posted and activity sheets that actually go along with those videos. So just kind of a neat website to go in and play around with to support your learner at home.
Yeah, awesome. I got another one too. We've got sesameworkshop.org. It's Sesame Street in the community, right?
Yep.
And I feel like one of our literacy coaches brought this to us. Yes.
Yeah, it's a wonderful resource. My favorite thing about it is, again, you kind of know what you're looking for. So if you're looking for help with literacy, numbers, social and emotional activities, you look for that, and they will tell you, here's one that's appropriate for this age. Or here, they have coloring pages, they have videos, they have it all.
They do.
Straight's got it together.
They do. I like it a lot. And it's really cool because they also like Bridget said, like there's some specificity built in here in the Sesame Street workshop. Sesame in the community is kind of like a platform that they have here. And they even talk about like, here's some difficult topics to address with kids. And they have something else that we use a lot in my work is called a social story. A social story is a really helpful way to kind of like help a child prepare for a transition or a change or something that's happening in their lives, to like tell it in their context. And this website actually does offer social stories for a lot of a lot of different topics and stuff. So yeah, we like sesameworkshop.org. I like PBS Kids too. PBS Kids is another one where there's some programming actually like listed in there. There's you can watch some TV. They have apps to recommend. It's fun because it's searchable by program. And honest to goodness, like I think the website itself is kind of like fun to play in because it's really colorful and but really just I think that the idea with pbskids.org is that it's programming that we can trust. We know that this platform is hosting programming that we can trust.
Definitely. Yeah, I was thinking about when you're talking about that, I was thinking about appropriate screen time activities in both of those websites, Sesame Street Communities and PBS Kids. It's going to give your kids like online games to play or, little apps and stuff that they can do in there that are going to be beneficial screen time activities.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Another one we like to use is Talking is Teaching. The Talking is Teaching campaign actually was started by the Clinton Foundation, and the whole premise of it is about talking to your kids because literally, as it says, it is teaching. And so the little slogan is Talk, Read, Sing. And it gives you probably 1,012 different ways to incorporate words with your kids. So there's like some activities you can do when you're changing diapers. There's activities you can do when you're at the grocery store. There's activities you can do when you're folding laundry. And as silly as it sounds, not everyone knows how to talk to kids. And so this Talking is Teaching campaign really breaks it down and makes it super simple to connect with kids through words.
I love the infographics. I really like the infographics.
Oh my gosh,
they're so cute
Because
and they're so captivating.
Very easy to read. Yeah.
Well, that's what catches people's eyes if they see it in the grocery store. Oh, look how cute this is. I think as a former teacher, I always look at this stuff and go, "Ooh, I could have used this like seasonally in my classroom." They have fall, they have the holidays. They have all different things, but again, great things to just hand out to the parents in your classroom. Great, information to post like in hallways or like maybe on doors at the eye level of children. You gotta love a free resource.
Absolutely. And as teachers and educators and people who are connecting with parents, again, sometimes they don't always know. And so it's just a very easy thing to give them to help facilitate that conversation. We did not talk about it in our newsletter section, but we do have a Talking is Teaching newsletter that Bridget puts together. And that would be an amazing thing that could be forwarded out every month as well.
They have a Talking is Teaching some more.
Yeah.
Look, and then right there up at the top of that s'more that they have is a share button. So you could definitely, get this one out there. See, it's talkingisteaching.org.
Yep.
And they have some free content there.
All of their information is free.
Yeah.
You sign up for a campaign and then you have complete and unlimited access to it. And it tells you how they want it to be used. If you need to add your logos or whatever to it, it gives you all of that information.
We're at talkingisteaching.org. And up at the top here are the tabs, and one of them says start a campaign.
Once you have clicked that button for starting a campaign and then you have the access from them, you can log in and you'll be able to see posters that are already made. There's book lists that go with the different topics. Their cute little characters are available. Their information for their branding content is right there. Everything is, again, 100% free, and you have unlimited access to it.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good community-facing website. That'd be very appropriate for parents.
Yeah. And if you're in Monroe County, keep your eyes out because we are starting our own campaign. What does it say? Look at the sky. Look up in the sky. You might see something. Look at the stores. You might see something. Look at where did we just go? The laundromat. You might see something. Also,
fun.
Keep an eye out.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Okay. Yeah. So that is that's another really good website that helps to serve parents and communities here. Any other website that helps you reach a lot of people all at one time, guys?
Well, I think we have to talk about our Facebook page.
Oh, give it a plug. Plug the page. Come on.
So let's see. It is MCISD Early Childhood is the back end of the link that I think you'd search for. Right?
Yeah, you guys just Google.
It's on the PDF link too.
Perfect. So it is linked in that PDF in the show notes. But yeah, if you guys are on Facebook, it's just MCISD Early Childhood, and it's the first one that pops up.
Yeah, so basically all of the programs here at the ISD in the early childhood sector fall under the funding and the umbrella of the Work with the Great Start Collaborative. So we post events that are happening, pictures of things that we've recently done, our surveys and polls, our community partners. We share what's going on in their world, events, different asks that they have of the community, resources, like community mental health or Department of Health and Human Services, special initiatives they have going on.
I see some Talking is Teaching content out here.
Talking is Teaching.
Yeah. It's a great connecting tool, and it's definitely always growing.
So, Bridget, you mentioned that you share content from some of your community partners,
Yes.
and different organizations. So, fair to say then maybe for our audience, like if you guys go and find the MCISD Early Childhood Programs Facebook page, some of the partners that we follow, that page follows, those might be good ideas. You guys could check out our following tab and see who you could follow then. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great way to find resources for, the families that you are serving too. One thing that we do utilize is the sharing of our information into other Facebook groups. These are just parent and family community groups. Some of our favorites are Southeastern Michigan Mamas, which is a big deal.
Is it the bread and butter group?
What am I saying? It is the bread and butter group of Facebook groups. So Monroe County and Friends. There's another one called Monroe Friends and Community. And then also I always try to find the ones that have to do with the different cities or parts of Monroe, like Bedford has one, South Rockwood, Dundee, and those are really big.
Yeah, there. So basically, we're talking about kind of like sharing out your content then, right, from your guys' Facebook page, and you share it with a group. So something to mention here, though, right, is the difference between a group and a page. Yeah. Can anybody kind of help back me up with a little bit about the difference between a group and a page?
A page is like the organization's platform for sharing their things, right?
Like a little bit more formal. Hey?
Yep, it is. Yeah, you'll usually see the logo, like their business information, things like that. That is the page. In a group is something that you often have to request membership to. Not always, it depends on the settings, but you often do. And it is literally a group of people who are, or organizations, I guess, who are a part of it and who can post and chat and have that conversation. Where if you go back to the page is less conversational unless it's on a specific post, whereas the group as a whole is more conversational topics.
Within those conversational groups, when we look at things like our Google sign-up forms, when those have been shared, it's really fun because like when you share them out to those big groups, you look back in 10 minutes and you're like, 25 more people. Like, you just get so excited.
I do have to tell you the story. We literally, I mean, that's part of the joys of sometimes when we have like, let's say our play groups, like for my realm, we run these little play groups in the schools and stuff like that, and we share them out on Facebook, and then we brace ourselves because as soon as they're shared specifically to those larger groups, when they're shared to a group, we're all like, all right, let's go. We're gonna batten down the hatches and watch that back end of that form because it's gonna fill in real quick. But it sounds like both of those are really beneficial to our listeners, right? Like, so looking at pages in some more formal, some more informative, and looking at groups in some more community facing, some more conversational, connective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, definitely check out that page. And so we're talking about all of these things in tech. You guys were talking about the tools that we use, these websites, all of these kinds of things. And I think part of the conversation when you're in the realm of education, and specifically where we are with early childhood, right, with early education, but for everybody in ed, is screen time.
There is a lot of conversation about screen time and how we live in a world where it's not going away. So we need to figure out how to support it, and we need to figure out what is appropriate.
And just reminding ourselves to be mindful of it. Like, what are they watching? How much are they watching? Yeah. And it gets into that, quantity versus quality and that whole idea there.
It's a big topic, isn't it?
Is never going to be an uncomplicated thing to talk about.
Yeah.
There are just multiple facets about that conversation. Like, you see this side and you see this side and you see that side. It's just, like you said, it's here and we have to figure out how to use it.
But it is also very dynamic because when we're talking about the introduction of like AI tools, or we're talking about kind of, some new platform is going to come along that gives all kinds of new access and that kind of thing. So like Betsy mentioned, ways to be super intentional about it and super thoughtful about it. And then I also think that, there's a piece of it where parents need information maybe, or families might need some support in that, right?
It's one of those things that it provokes guilt.
There's feelings, right? There's feelings, no matter what, not even just guilt. Like there's complex feelings.
Guilt and am I using it too much? Yeah. It provokes guilt if you decide your kid, hey, no, my kids aren't having a cell phone. And then you're like, oh my gosh, will it keep them more safe? Or
shame, like you've got it, you're out in public and really like that's a tool for you. It's a tool that's helping you and your child or whatever. And not even to talk about assistive devices, right? So we've got kids walking around with tablets for a specific like accessibility reason.
Yeah.
And there's opinions, there's, inside and out on it. So it is
very complicated.
Yeah. But hopefully today, just in this podcast, we can just give you some ideas on how to monitor the screen time, some different apps and websites that might help you guide you into how do I manage this? Where do I start?
Because it is a where to start question. Yeah. It's a big topic. Yeah. And I don't think that also too, like, so if you're a millennial, so we were raised in tech. Yeah. We were raised at the advent of tech, all of us like around this table. But it's one of those things where even if you're raised in it, it's still a question of like, how do I use it? What is appropriate? How to go about, finding that kind of information. I'm going to tell you that early days in education for myself, and again, I'm in early childhood ed, so NACI is a big one that like I lean into. National Association for the Education of Young Children. You got it. Thank you. And Michigan also has one, but they have their own kind of like guidelines. So I go to sort of like the experts. I go to the experts if I have a question. A lot of it for me would be like the CDC has some guidelines posted. NACI has some guidelines posted. But the long and short of it is it's about kind of like how much, how often, how close, and how good or bad. Like what's the quality of the content, right? iPads, iPhones, there's some tools that are built into our tech, right, Betsy?
Right. So on the iPads and the iPhones, if you actually go into the settings of those devices, there is a setting for screen time specifically where you can click into screen time and you can schedule times where the kids have downtime. And it will actually put a timer thingy next to the app and it'll shut it down so they can't get into it. So being able to use those and kind of check those out and see how they work. There's also focus that you can do, or you can actually shut off notifications. So definitely be aware of some of those
with the device itself.
Yes, exactly.
Like get into your device itself and the settings in your device itself, because odds are really good that there are some kinds of like some settings.
Yeah, and then setting those app limits, and then there's even a place in there where you can adjust the screen distance to help with that eye strain. So playing around with some of those settings and see.
Yeah. People comment on my screen a lot because I do have like a filter on it, like for the eye strain and stuff like that. Yeah, and everything's in dark mode, that kind of thing. So, okay, so there's tools within the device itself, but then also in some applications themselves are built to get us to limit that screen time or to set some parameters around that screen time. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's actually 3 that my family personally uses. 2 of them, I believe, are through Microsoft. One is the Family Link and the other is the Family Share. And both of them, I'm not sure why we use 2, truthfully, because they both do very similar things. You can put limits on the types of content your kid is participating in, watching. You can do the times. You can say no to certain types of things, like certain websites, certain videos. You can put the filters on for that. So there's a lot of things. And one of them, and forgive me because I don't remember exactly which one, but one of them, it will even notify you if your kid goes out of their boundary, like their actual geographic boundary, their physical location. If they're without it, it'll be like, ping, your kid is out of, yep.
Yeah, the little air tag.
And it tells you how fast they're in the car going sometimes. Like, it's pretty wild.
Dang.
So yeah, you can do some cool things with these apps. But my favorite one that we use the most is the Bark app. It is a parental control app. You can put it on any of the devices. So it can be on their computer, it can be on their tablet, it can be on their phone. And literally it will shoot back what kind of content they are engaging in. So if it's Snapchat, if it's Discord, if it's text messages, if it's videos, if it's screenshots, it's watching all of these things. And as a parent, I can go in and I can tell it what things to notify me for. So things like violence, drug usage, self-harm, depression, the list is huge. And so for me as a parent with my oldest, he's 14, we had a conversation with him. What things do you think is important if we know about? And what things do you think we should not know about? And we were able to tailor those settings for him. Whereas my younger 2 kids, they have the blanket. I mean, we get notified on literally everything they're doing because they're much younger, and I don't think they're responsible enough for that yet.
I love how you had the conversation though, because part of it, I mean, a huge part of it, right, is just to have the dialogue or open the dialogue for a kid, when developmentally appropriate.
I will say though, Bark is not free. I have no idea what we pay for it. My husband pays for it. But I think as a parent, it is 100% worth it. That peace of mind is huge.
Okay.
It's been, for us and our family, it's been a phenomenal tool, and I love it, and I would recommend it to anyone.
it's bark.us, right? And you said
Yep.
this is so it's a paid product, basically.
It is a paid product. There is the website version. There's also the app. My husband and I share the user access, so we're both seeing the same exact information on all 3 of our kids.
Awesome. Okay. Sometimes when we're talking about the type of media, sometimes that gets a little bit confusing, I think, for parents and families. What is good quality media? Yeah, same kind of question.
Absolutely.
Like, I like to send them to commonsensemedia.org. It's like a rating system. And they're giving you like appropriately rated movies, TVs, books. Like, so it's actually telling you, here's this media that is appropriate content for, you know, your kid and your age group and things like that. But there's all kinds of stuff. There's podcasts, there's games, there's books. My favorite is YouTube channels because it gets into the nitty-gritty about YouTube Kids. I think sometimes some caregivers might be looking at YouTube and being like, if I set it up for YouTube Kids, they're good to go, right?
Right.
Are they good to go?
No. We have learned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not true.
Yeah. So even having it set onto that YouTube Kids, you still have channels there and you still have access there that might be questionable. But again, the question of what is good quality content, this commonsensemedia.org is one way to kind of look at that.
I think it's worth mentioning with Common Sense Media that the reviews are coming from all sorts of different sources. Like, there are professionals, but then there's also families who are reviewing, who have seen it and been like, wait a minute, this is super questionable, so I'm going to pop that in there.
Like actual users, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, because different things mean different things to different families.
Yeah.
too.
Absolutely. So there's a wide scope of the people reviewing it, which is why I like Common Sense.
That's good
Media.
feedback. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Another one, like, so this is, I think specifically, I kind of mentioned if I had to like defend screen time or kind of like to recommend screen time or things like that. It's a question that we get, right, in education a lot. Sometimes I have been asked to provide like really concrete examples of good research behind screen time, the use of screen time. And digitalwellnesslab.org is where I go to find that. There's, again, it's research that supports it. There's research about how to use it appropriately, but it's research. These are what I want to say, like peer reviewed. Yeah. So they're sciencey and they're heavy and they're not for like the average bear user parent to go like look up and that kind of thing. But what it is really great, there's some parent guides on there. But there's also like there's some family wellness guides that are on there. But it's a good place for even educators to go if they needed some of that really good like science-backed information about it.
And a lot of parents look to educators. I almost said us. They look
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
They do. And you know, and they ask you like, what do you think? Or you know, and having that backed up peer reviewed info is really great to make you feel good about what you're sharing.
I think, I think it helps me feel like, okay, I this is good information. Like, this is meaningful. I have a document from the University of Michigan that talks specifically about screen time, and talks about some of the effects of it, and specifically in terms of like how it affects communication, things like that. So.
Yeah, and actually connecting to the Great Start Collaborative, we are doing a lot of research into screen time right now because some of the survey information that we're getting back from teachers is relating to like the issues kids are having in the classroom based on overuse of screen time.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting data to look through, and some things you think, wow, doesn't look how I thought it would, but there's a big push to understand how it's being used at home in conjunction with the time that they spend at school doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is really good information for teachers to consider, and we just want teachers to know that we're working on it. We're looking to help with, you know, things we can, you know, have events for parents, guest speakers, things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys, as a collaborative, are really like making inroads there too, because I see you guys like, you know, kind of collecting that data and getting that information about how it's used and that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely stay tuned. Follow the Facebook page.
Yes. There's a lot of great stuff out there, and it's just a matter of finding it and knowing where to look. It's really really been nice to get to do this with you both, Kit and Betsy. Thank you for inviting us. A lot of this is crossover work, so we were glad to share and learn from you too.
Lots of resources.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you guys, thank you very much.
Thank you again so much for joining us for today's MC Tech Talk. We want to give a huge thank you to Jen and Bridget from Monroe County's Great Start Collaborative for talking with us today. They helped us highlight some websites, some newsletters, social media pages and groups, Google Forms, and even some tech tools to help support healthy screen time.
If you want to check out any of the different sites and apps that we showed today, check out the links in the comments, and there's a list of resources and links that you can go in and explore to see what resources are available for you to share out to families.
For sure. And definitely join us next time to learn more about digital mental health.
Thank you for listening to this episode of MC Tech Talk with Betsy and Kit. If you would like to ask any questions about anything from today's episode, click the link in the description to fill out the Google form.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check back next month for our next episode of MC Tech Talk. You can find our flyer for future episodes linked in the show notes below.
Thanks again. We'll see you next time.